Hi, I'm Irene Pease, your friendly neighborhood astronomer, and this is a look at the skies for September 6th through 11th, 2021, using Visual with Stellarium, which you can find at stellarium.org. As we're coming up on the equinox, our autumn equinox coming up really soon here, I just wanted to spend a bit of time talking about the ecliptic, partly because I said I would. If we look at where we are now, this is set for 7:30 Eastern near the New York City area, near but not in. And we can see we have some planets out here, and I think I mentioned some elongations previously. So what's happening with that? Well, an elongation, again, that's basically when a planet appears the furthest in the sky from the sun. So we're going to hold our breaths for a few minutes here and just turn off the atmosphere and rewind time a little bit so that we can see where some of these things are in the sky. You'll notice, of course, that the sun, the moon, and the planets all kind of lie along a line. There's some other stars along this line or close to it. Antares is a star, Spica is a star, Regulus and Pollux Capella are stars. Capella is not really near this line, but yeah, we'll see. So let me just go ahead and turn on the line. There we go. That's our ecliptic. So that's the plane of the solar system as seen from Earth. Now, when we have an elongation, that just means that the planet's going to be as far from the sun as it'll get for that pass. This happens for the interior planets, so the inferior planets, the planets whose orbits are between the Earth and the sun, that would be Venus and Mercury. So if we just kind of center on the sun for a bit and zip through time, we should see Venus getting a little bit further away. Venus isn't going to reach its greatest eastern elongation. That's as far east as it will get when the sun is in the west. Until later on in October 29th is the greatest eastern elongation for Venus that we'll see in the evening time. But Mercury is reaching an eastern elongation in just a week or so, September 14th. So if we look to September 14th, that's basically as far as Mercury is going to get from the sun. So its greatest angular distance, which we can measure using stellarium. So we stretch this out, and this is showing, this is a little bit rough, about 26 and some odd degrees, a little over 26.5 degrees. Great, that's fun. If we looked the day before or day after, let's look a few days before, see where it is this week, and measure that angle again. Oh, it's going to be a little bit shorter, 26 and less than half. It's going to be shorter, right? So that's what we're talking about with elongation. And normally we would think that elongation would be a good time to see the planets in the morning or evening skies. Usually, but actually it depends on the time of year. I want to set this up for a full sky view and just take a look at how the sun is moving, how the sun appears in our sky at different times of year. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of step through the equinox and solstices, which are around like the 21st of the month for all four. I'm going to go ahead and set this so that the sun is setting. So if we look at sunset and kind of look at this angle between the ecliptic and the horizon at sunset, it's actually lowest around the autumn equinox, right? If we fast forward 3 months to the winter solstice and then look at that angle around the time of sunset, here the sun is setting, and we see that this angle between the ecliptic and the horizon is higher than it is at this time of year right now around the fall or autumn equinox. So yes, the sun is setting further to the south, but what we're looking at right now in terms of viewing eastern and western elongations for Mercury and Venus is how high is this angle of the ecliptic above the horizon. So it's actually lowest this time of year, and it's going to be highest, you guessed it, in March at our spring equinox. So if I go ahead and set this to around sunset, oh, there the sun just set in the west. So look at that huge angle. When the sun is setting right in the west, we have a huge angle between the ecliptic and the western horizon. So Eastern elongations, which we see in the evening in the west, those are best viewed in the spring, right around the spring equinox. And so the opposite is going to be true for western elongations. If we look and see what's happening in the mornings in the spring when the sun is coming up, that angle between the ecliptic and the horizon is very low. So this would be a bad time of year, or not as good of a time of year, to view the western elongations for Mercury or Venus, because the ecliptic is so low that even though the planets are far from the sun, they're not very high above the horizon. So they're still hard to see in the glow of sunrise. If we fast forward to around the first day of summer and go back to about when the sun is rising there, again, we see that angle is a little bit higher. Okay, so a higher angle between the horizon and the ecliptic that time of year. And then in the fall, of course, it's going to be the highest. If we fast forward, oh, there we missed the sunrise. We see a very high angle for the morning time. So the fall, or right around the fall equinox, is going to be the best time to view western elongations, which are happening in the morning. And then the spring is going to be the best time to view eastern elongations, which happen in the western sky in the evening. So I'm going to probably make a whole other video about this. If that was a little bit confusing, that's going to be on my to-do list in all my spare time. I just wanted to comment on that since we do have some elongations coming up. I'll go ahead and reset this. We do have some other eastern elongations coming up, if I reset this for now-ish, but they're not going to be that great to view because they're eastern elongations happening around the autumn equinox. So still try to see them, but they're not going to be the most amazing. But we should be seeing some kind of exciting things. The moon is basically new right now. So for those of you celebrating Rosh Hashanah this week, Happy New Year, right? So we have our new moon for the new year. We'll have on the 8th, 9th, and 10th. So there's 8, 9, 10, mainly the 8th and 9th, but also the 10th, I'm going to say. We have the moon near Mercury, Spica, and Venus. So we'll see it kind of pop along there. If I turn the atmosphere back on, you can see we'll need to be catching that right at sunset. So as soon as it's starting to get dark out there, start looking. You'll know that on the 8th, the moon is near Mercury. But again, Mercury may not pop out until it's just about to hit the horizon, but we'll have a very thin crescent moon. The 9th, I think, might be the winner here. We'll have a little bit more of a crescent moon, and it'll be really, really close to Venus and Spica, the bright star in Virgo. So also, as promised, I did want to talk about an ice cream cone in the sky because it's Labor Day weekend, which is why it's coming out a day later. It's my excuse. So if you're out tonight or anytime the next week or more, a fun thing to look for is the great ice cream cone in the sky. So a lot of people probably recognize the Big Dipper, part of the constellation Ursa Major, the Big Bear. So we have the cup and the handle. The handle of the Big Dipper kind of arcs around and points to the star Arcturus. So we like to say arc to Arcturus. So if you follow that handle, it kind of points to this brighter star over here. It's slightly yellowy orange in the night sky. And that's basically the bottom of this big ice cream cone shape. So again, with the little stick figures, you have the little cone, and then there's like a big blob of ice cream on it. You can ignore the legs. The ice cream cone's not actually running off. It's supposed to be a shepherd's man or herdsman. Yeah, okay. But it looks like an ice cream cone. So that's Bote, is the ice cream cone. And then right next to it, you have Corona Borealis, the giant tongue, or the northern crown. But I see it as a giant tongue. So I think it looks like a big tongue that's about to lick the ice cream cone. So that's kind of a nice set of summery constellations for the very end of your summer, if you're celebrating the ending of summer or the beginning of fall or the new year or whatever. So that's just a little bit of what's going to be up in the sky in this coming week. I'll be back next week with a few more fun things to see. in your night skies. Again, I'm Irene Pease, your friendly neighborhood astronomer. Thanks for tuning in. Stay safe out there. Clear skies, everyone.